This is a slide covering the Scottish Government R100 programme from a Cromar Community Council meeting in October 2021. It shows that there are 857 properties in Cromar and 355 of these were due to get a full fibre broadband as part of R100. 84 properties were not covered and instead were eligible for a voucher. In addition, there were 418 properties that were so close to the village centre that they already had broadband faster than 30 megabits and therefore would see no improvement. Since this meeting, we've been informed that the R100 timetable has been extended to 2027 and a recent Freedom of Information request shows that the programme now runs to 2028. With this background, we're pleased to welcome Michael Armitage and Campbell Cameron from Broadway Partners, who are planning to build a full fibre broadband to all properties in Cromar beginning in 2023.
Yeah, good evening, everybody, and thanks very much for that introduction, Dave. Sorry, forgive me for sounding slightly distracted. Can you see that? Can you see a first slide? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, great. Okay, so so thanks very much for the time. I'll keep this short because I'm sure you've got lots of other things you want to be discussing. But of course, the most important thing in the world is having decent broadband, and we're pretty passionate about that as a company. As you know, Dave organised a couple of community meetings with us presenting our credentials, if you like, back in November, and that's led to a growing level of interest, I think, among some individuals in the local community, which is very encouraging. And what I want to do is just take the opportunity to give you a quick update on where we are from our side in terms of the planning and the organisation of this project. I quickly introduce Campbell Cameron. He's our Scotland manager. He's based in Oban, but that shouldn't be held against him. I'm based in London. Which I hope isn't held against me. We are, as a business, completely committed and totally committed to providing broadband in hard to reach rural areas in Scotland and also in Wales. And it's just a matter of historic accident that I happen to be in London, and Campbell is busily developing our business north of the border. So, like it or not, this is our sort of current branding, designed to be user friendly and unthreatening, and reasonably jolly and a little bit different from the crowd. Don't get too used to it because we're going through another rebranding exercise at the moment, so it will look a little bit different over the next several weeks. But it I hope gives you a sense of our enthusiasm and passion for the business. So a quick recap on the project for those of you who may not have been able to attend the previous community meetings. The plan is for the funding to be split basically 50-50 between Broadway and the governments being the Westminster and Scottish governments. As I'm sure you're aware, there's broadband voucher schemes available from the Westminster government and from Scottish government, and we're quite adept at working out how to work with those schemes. The typical rule of thumb is that we end up usually paying around 50% of the capital costs of a network, and the government is happy to provide the balance. The delivery will be, it's sort of hybrid in the sense that we use as much as possible of existing infrastructure, which means Openreach's ducts and poles, which obviously you're familiar with. You see the poles and you're probably aware of various underground activity by Openreach engineers. The nature of the beast, because it's the dominant player in the market, it's got significant market power. Openreach is obliged to open up its physical infrastructure to third parties, so we use that very willingly and very happily. We're quite adept at the intricacies of working with Openreach, and we'll be using for the actual delivery a mixture of local contractors yet to be engaged, but we're in the process of approaching them, and our own in-house delivery teams, engineers, surveyors, and so on. Local engagement is absolutely critical because it's from a self-interested point of view, because this is a voucher-led proposal. You only get a voucher if you actually stick your hand up as an individual to take service. So it's absolutely crucial that we drum up enough interest and demand to get people to register interest, which will eventually become the request for vouchers, which we will process on individuals' behalf. but it's absolutely crucial that we work very closely with the communities, and that's just going to be a recurrent theme over the next year or two. The council, Aberdeenshire Council, I think is very supportive of what we're doing. It's news to me from Dave that the R100 programme seems to have gone back yet another year, which is absolutely outrageous. But the council seems to be very supportive of our efforts and our ambitions. We've got various joint projects in discussion with them, which happy to talk about offline with any of you who are interested. As far as the customer is concerned, part of the end user is concerned, that the standard, what we call entry-level package, which is pretty good, it's 100 megabit per second download for £20 a month, and you can go up to 300 or a gig if you want to. We're also developing a separate social tariff, as you can see here, for imminent launch. I've been saying that for a couple of months now, but it's just choosing the right moment to launch it. Likely to be priced around £10 a month, and that's obviously for those who are challenged, economically or whatever, to afford the full £20. The expected timing, and don't hold me to this resolutely. This is just the best current guesstimate of the likely immediate timing. We are doing initial design work. I'll show you a couple of slides to show what that's looking like. DCMS, the Westminster department that's responsible for telecoms, and runs the voucher scheme, the projects have to be approved formally to be qualifying for vouchers. We hope that'll be done by April. That's, if you like, that's the starting gun for us to send out the surveyors and the engineers to do the field work and in what's called intrusive surveys. So checking the state of telegraph poles, checking the state of the underground duct network, checking for blockages and so on. And then with a fair wind, and if things all line up, we would hope to start physical building and construction in May, with first connections very soon thereafter, or just at the end. So this, you'll have seen a version of this, I think, if you'd come to previous meetings. The initial engagement, basically, we sent out a invitation to all local community councils to express an interest, and Dave was right at the top of the queue and responded very helpfully and positively, and that's where we've been particularly successful in spreading the word, or Dave's been particularly successful in spreading the word. But also we've got some very good interest in Fingen. And it is the interest does seem to be spreading. We've had a sudden burst of activity around Bankery, which is great. Can't quite explain it. Maybe Dave's got a view on that, why we've suddenly got a spate of registrations. These are the latest months, the dark blue ones. And we're also making contact in Torfins, and it looks like we're basically getting a very nice coherent pattern of demand. So growing awareness across a broader sphere, and as you see, 165 registrations of interest. We're still talking the single-digit percentages of population, but it's hugely encouraging that we've even got to that level, given relatively light level of proactive marketing on our side. So a tiny little bit of sort of quasi-technical stuff for those who are interested in this. We need to have sort of the network is multi-layered, if you like. You think of BT exchanges, you think of BT cabinets. I'm sure you've seen those being installed periodically around to support fibre to the cabinet. We will have our own cabinets scattered across the area. So one in Thailand, if we've got the positioning right there, in a Boyne. In Torfins, I think it's Kincardine and Neil, somewhere around there, and also in Bankery. These are what we've done is, although if I look at very briefly, jump back to the previous slide. These boundaries are the community council boundaries, which we got from the council, which is very helpful, and that was our sort of initial breaking Aberdeenshire down into digestible chunks, if you like. What we found, of course, is that the community council boundaries don't necessarily map the way that BT has built its network, and because we're making such heavy use of the BT ducts and poles infrastructure, it makes sense for us to be designing our network pretty much in parallel with BT. So there's a slightly different series of polygons here described describing different project areas, but they roughly match the community council areas more or less. You know, if I don't want to make the sound wrong, but you don't need to worry about this sort of stuff. This is for our internal design and planning effort. It makes sense to mirror the BT layout of their networks. So these will be the basis of the projects that we're submitting to DCMS, and as I say, expect to hear back from them by April. This is the bigger picture. I would imagine from what the designers come back with here, by placing the exchange, our exchange unbundling activity in Aboyne, that's presumably because the Thailand exchange is probably not going to be around for forever. It presumably is one of those that is scheduled for closure. This is way above my pay grade. I don't know the detail of the network configuration for BT, but yeah, this is what our in-house designer has come up with. That there will be we will have active equipment, in other words, optical equipment, sitting in the Aboyne exchange, sitting alongside BT's active equipment, so that we can share fibre, we can share exit to the internet, and so on. It gives us far more resilience and control over the quality of the network and the service that we can sort of deliver on in the form of services. But that's no very
helpful, and effectively all the connections then that we might use locally, Thorsten and Thailand and Cromar, then we'll all go back to Aboyne, which is absolutely fine.
Yeah, that's right. And then that's it. That's the Aboyne exchange there, and you can see how this fits in with our larger plans for to be honest, the rest of Aberdeenshire, if time allows. But we will have a series of fibre exchanges or BT exchanges unbundled, with us having equipment sitting alongside BT OpenReach, and this will provide a huge amount of resilience. So if for whatever reason this link fails, we've always got reserve capacity to link backwards or forwards. So it's all about resilience and redundancy, and there's not much point in investing in fibre networks in the local loop if you don't have resilience and redundancy in what we call the core network, which takes you to the outside world and to the internet. So the conclusion that we're confident that demand is there. I'm sure you can attest to that anecdotally. We've got the full backing of our investor, and in fact, they're very comfortable that we've brought forward the timing for the delivery of the project. It was going to be second half of the year, and we brought it forward to the first half of this year, which is great. We're more used to delays on our projects than being able to accelerate them, but this is one that we wanted to bring forward. We do have to wait for sign off for BDUK, but that's a completely routine process. Touch wood, they've never rejected a single one of our something like 300 proposals that we've put into BDUK. So I don't expect problems, but you know, you never know until it's formally approved. Support and encouragement are always welcome. You know, this does greatly benefit from active engagement with the communities from our side, but also, you know, a meeting halfway, if you like, from your side. So anything you can be doing to, you know, point us in the right direction, basically, or point us away from obvious pitfalls. If there are connections that you can help us make in terms of you know, knowing the right people. I've got the good fortune to have a friend down here who's from Aberdeenshire, who's got a lot of local connections with landowners and so on. So we're hopeful we'll have a good network to tap into in terms of wayleaves and access rights and so on. But any soft power that you can bring to bear to support us would be immensely appreciated, obviously. But in any case, full steam ahead as far as we're concerned, and you know, very, very exciting. So that's the end of the presentation. I hope I didn't overstay my welcome on that.
I think that's really excellent news then, for that to happen in the middle part, the early part, middle part of 2023. Then is you know, potentially 5 years better than we could do elsewhere. Then so that's